It's Cardboard Time, episode number 136, and I'm your host, Arwen Kathke. On today's episode, I have reviews of Counterpoint and Soothsayers. So let's jump right into the Shelf of Aspiration update. It is up by 2. It is up to 125. 6 new games coming into the collection, and part of that came from a little event that I was at Recess Games that was a trunk sale. It was very interesting. You basically paid for a spot, and then you got to sell your games out of that spot. I got to get rid of some things that were collecting dust on my shelves and rehome them to a place that they would get some use, as well as get some really good deals on a couple of games, and we'll talk about those right now. Nemesis and Last Light. I picked up Nemesis for $50. It's one that I've been waiting on and on the fence about, and I've heard a lot of very good things, but I just didn't have the opportunity to really pick it up. And then Last Light is the same deal. I picked that up for $30. I've always been very interested in it. A 4X game that you can play in about 60 minutes sounds very interesting to me, and I'd like to see how that plays. So I picked up both of those at the sale. I also picked up Soothsayers. This was not at the sale. This was actually at Recess itself. They had a couple of copies left. It's been very difficult to find, but I did hear that there is going to be a reprint coming out right around Gen Con, or very close to Gen Con. So I did pick that up. I've already played that one, so that doesn't show up on the Shelf of Aspiration count, but I did bring that into my collection. I also forgot to mention that I picked up Reforest. That was at Tower Games in Minnesota, and I played the demo of it, or the tutorial of it rather, online on BGA, and enjoyed it enough that I decided to pick that one up as well. Small little card game. And then finally, our good friend Jordan was selling off his copy of Raw. I've played this. I really enjoyed it. Really good bidding and set collection game. And I did pick that one up from him because he was selling it. So those were my purchases. And then from a review copy standpoint, Shards of Creation came in, as well as Dark Heist. So I'm looking forward to checking both of those out. Shards of Creation, a new Brotherwise trick-taking game, and Dark Heist is Mo Poplar, who is publishing under Ashy Feet. It is a deck-building game. Very much looking forward to checking that out. I've heard a lot of very good things. And then I also got Reforest, Shelfie Stacker, and Clank Catacombs to the table, so I did play Reforest again. Shelfie Stacker was one that I picked up when I was out in the Pacific Northwest. I picked that up in Portland. And then Clank Catacombs, I picked up used and haven't had an opportunity to table it, and I did table it solo. So I'm going through the campaign right now with that and enjoying it so far. I'm very interested to see what my thoughts are after the campaign. I'm liking the exploration nature of it. I think that's pretty cool. But I also do having that solid board that I know where I'm going to. I'll have my thoughts after I play that multiplayer and then finish out the campaign. So, speaking of thoughts, let's get into the reviews. And the first review that I wanted to do for you today was Counterpoint. This is a 2026 game, 3 to 5 players, plays in 15 minutes, designed by Ted Manshaller, and the artist is Brandon Campbell. And this was published by Square Cactus Games. Curtains up, it's time to perform. Counterpoint invites players to experience a world of classical chamber music through cooperative trick-taking. Take on the role of an adorable classical musician, play your part by collecting your own suit, and navigate through increasingly complex real-life classical chamber music compositions. No actual music experience required, and thank goodness for that. Structurally, Counterpoint is based on traditional trick-taking games like Bridge, Spades, or Euchre. Players start by bidding on their own hand of cards, then through trick taking work together to make sure that everybody meets their bid. If everyone is successful, then you've won the game. But the fun doesn't stop there, because Counterpoint includes 50 scenarios based on real-life classical chamber music compositions by a wide variety of composers, including Beethoven, Brahms, Mozart, Debussy, and many more. Each scenario comes with special rules and goals that increase the difficulty of the game from easy to virtuoso. Immerse yourself in the world of Counterpoint by listening to the music from the included playlist while you play. So thanks to Square Cactus Games for the review copy of this. I actually first played this at OrcaCon along with my wife, and we both fell in love with it. And Ted actually reached out to me via Blue Sky and asked if I would like to take a look at the review copy of it. So I said, yes, absolutely. Trick-taking games are in abundance these days. There are a ton out there. The ones that really stand out to me do something either different or make me feel like I'm very clever in how I'm playing this and gives me the opportunity to do that. And really, this does both. So one aspect of the game, as I mentioned in the intro, was bidding for taking cards in tricks of your color. And then the other aspect involves getting through scenario conditions that are imposed on each piece, which can really range from the lead player never winning a trick to players needing to pass their hands to the left after each trick. And that leads to some really interesting conditions. They're very challenging. Even the people who are really most experienced in trick taking are going to really have to think through these. So individually, they've really been done before. We've seen the bidding piece being done before, the scenario thing that's been done by the crew, and we've kind of seen that before. Mashing them together and putting those two together at the same time really does create a harmony that I haven't seen in a game. And it does work incredibly well. I really enjoyed kind of that mashup of not only having to bid, but also fulfill a scenario at the same time. Making sure that you can get the right cards in the right people's hands while simultaneously facing challenges that really kind of leaves space for people to make creative plays. And I think that pulled it off really well, and it really emphasizes how this game kind of fits the theme, where you're working together, but at the same time, you have to take care of your own hand simultaneously. The scenarios themselves are really easy to dive into and play if you're tight on time and want a good opener or closer, but there's also the ability to make this kind of a lengthier, beefier game. And that comes in the form of a game mode where you play through a concert that's composed of a series of 4 scenarios with different difficulties. And it's kind of that range and spectrum of difficulties that you're presented with. And it gets to be a challenge because your special ability cards only refresh halfway through, where normally after a scenario, you reset, you do the scenario over again, and you have your special abilities. So you really have to be careful with how you use your abilities when you time them, and you can't just use them offhand because it's convenient. You really have to think, is this the right time to use this? Because I'm not going to get this back for a little bit. So in this mode, you can also increase the notes that need to be collected in an earlier piece or an easier piece to lessen your burden later on when the scenarios do get to be more challenging. So you can front load yourself with an easier scenario and just kind of say, we'll take some extra notes and then not have to deal with that later, which is really also pretty cool. All of that leads to some very engaging cooperative play, and you're really going to have to kind of figure out, you can't communicate the value of your cards directly, but you can try to make sure that cards are getting into the hands of the players that need them, or kind of changing some of the conditions that make sure that everybody is able to do their part. And that's why I really love with this game is that cooperative feeling of being clever and making sure that everybody is able to play their part. of the music, and that very well corresponds with the theme. The playlist of the music that corresponds with each of the pieces is also really cool. You can just pull up whatever you're playing and then actually listen to the music as you're doing your card play, which is great. And we also really love the illustrations with the various anthropomorphic animals that are performing the different instruments. It was one of the first things that we really noticed about the game sitting down with it at OrcaCon. And it's simple, it's clean, and it works very well for the game. So we really liked those illustrations and that visual design. From a vision and accessibility standpoint, there were no issues. The symbols for the suits were distinct enough, easy to tell apart, and you're very easily able to see what they are. They also have the different animals so you know where they have to go and whose hand they kind of have to land in, which is nice as well. So for my final thoughts, a counterpoint by definition is the relationship between two or more musical voices that are harmonically dependent yet independent in rhythm and contour. And I think from a thematic standpoint and how this game integrates with mechanics, I really couldn't think of a better fit for this game. Players not only have to fulfill their own bid, but also watch out for how they're going to help other players and what they need, and not throw off the rhythm of getting the scenario objective and not throw that off balance. So for those who love cooperative trick takers like The Crew or the Lord of the Rings trick taking game, this will absolutely be right up your alley. And I would say that this takes that kind of to the next level, especially with the bidding mechanic and the scenario play integrated together. So this one is staying on my shelves. If you are interested, today is actually the launch date for Counterpoint on Kickstarter, so you can go check that out right now. And that was Counterpoint. And the other game that I wanted to talk about today was Soothsayers. This is also from 2026. For 2 to 5 players, plays in 30 to 60 minutes. The designer is Jeff Grissenthwaite, and the art is by Marco Primo and Pamela Coleman-Smith. This is published by Play2Z. You are a powerful mystic in a tense race against rivals to control the fate of the universe. Capture the Empress, the Moon, even death itself, and harness the arcane powers of the tarot to bend destiny to your will. On your turn, choose an action. You can earn coins, draft cards, ascend to higher levels, or capture a tarot card. Rival soothsayers may choose to follow your action, but if you have a higher level, they must pay you for the privilege. Each tarot card you capture grants you a new game-changing ability. Combine these with your leveled up actions to create unstoppable combos. Seize the tokens of fate before your rivals to win the game. So I did pick this up at Recess Games in Cleveland, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I played a couple games on BGA. I played one at Gamma. Playing on BGA was good, but playing this in person really sealed the fact that I needed to pick this up. So you can check it out on BGA. I think it's in beta if it's not fully released. I want to say that I played the alpha version of this and now it's in beta. But really playing it on a table with other players really kind of seals that deal, and I'll explain why. So this is a tableau builder, and for those who might not be familiar with that terminology, what a tableau builder is a game where you're acquiring cards or tiles that you build up to make more powerful abilities and score more points as the game goes on. So there's 4 ways of gaining tokens, which are your points. You can have the highest level in a suit of a standard action card. You can have the highest level in a suit of tarot cards. So those tokens are ones that can move across the board. So if a player beats you in a level of a suit that they've put out, that token then goes to that player. The other 2, purchasing tokens outright with coins or purchasing tokens through your different tarot abilities, those are permanent. Those can't be taken away from you. They stay in front of you. They're yours to keep. In that, and in those 4 ways of gaining tokens, there's so many different ways to build your tableau up. and the different paths to victory that so far I really haven't played a single game that's felt the same. I'm still exploring the decision space and trying to figure out, okay, if I build up my ability to draw cards, what can I do with that? What tarot could I possibly get? And how could I build my board up that way? Or if I'm going to go money heavy, what can I do with that? Maybe I can just go and outright just buy a bunch of tokens up. So there's very interesting ways of playing with that, and that's been really cool so far to explore that. I really like the balancing of the standard smaller cards. Everybody has access to the different levels of those. They go from 1 to 6, and they all look the same. So a 2 for one person is going, or 2 of a suit for one person is going to be the 2 of a suit for another person, as opposed to the tarot cards, which go from 0 to 21, I believe, and those are all going to be different. So only one person is going to have access to that during the game. And I think the interplay of the tarot cards and then how you're going to build up your individual tableau with your standard cards is really going to be the star of this game. You can create some incredible combos if you literally play your cards right. And making that engine up as you go along is really cool and something that I really enjoyed. This is a game where players are going to constantly be making sure that others aren't in a position to win, and that's by design. If you don't like this mechanic, you need to understand that going in. I know that some people are averse to that. The difference I feel with this game and what this does over others is that you have that blend of temporary points that are going to be shifting back and forth between different players as you're playing your cards out and improving your tableau, as opposed to the points that are permanently yours, which really makes this feel a lot different than most games, which are just, hey, we have this fixed amount of points in a pot that are shuffling around the different players, and as long as you can secure a certain amount of them, then you're going to win. And that's what I'm used to with this mechanic. This kind of opens up that space where, as time goes on, the early ones that you're probably going to gain are more of those temporary ones, whereas later in the game, you're going to find ways to build up your permanent base and then try to steal one of those floating tokens and make sure that you can secure that 5th or 7th token, depending on how many players that you have. You're going to secure that, and that will give you the win. So I really like that. Some players who are averse to that and don't like stealing things back and forth with points, that's something to be aware of. I also like the fact that there's a separate deck of tarot cards other than the basic one to kind of spice things up after you've played a few games as well. I haven't played with this one yet. I haven't gotten enough players up to the point that we can go and then try this new deck of tarot cards and see what that's about, but I'm sure it's pretty awesome. The art in this game is also very well done with those tarot style vibes. It works really well with the theme. I really liked it. My wife was noticing some artistic decisions that were really cool that she was pointing out as we were playing. And I think really having this on the table and that presence of the cards that you're playing with, as well as seeing what other players are doing on the table directly, is really interesting. And that's why I like playing it in person a little bit more than I do on BGA, because you're able to look around the table and see where everybody's at a glance. You can do that to a certain extent on BGA, but being able to see that in person, I think, just works better. From a vision and accessibility standpoint, the symbols on the cards are very well done. They're distinct enough that I didn't have any color vision issues. All the suits are denoted with different symbols that are distinct. So I didn't have any issues with kind of discerning between the different suits. So that was good. And then for my final thoughts, I spoiled my thoughts on this game when I did my opening thoughts, but I do want to emphasize how much I really do enjoy this tableau builder. I love games that players are constantly in the need of being engaged. I find that combining that I lead, you follow mechanic along with the shifting tokens works really well at keeping people engaged and not having people go and not basically going off to the kitchen for 30 minutes. This does very well at keeping people engaged and into the gameplay. This game is no exception to that. I think that it does a very good job at it. So this one's staying on my shelves. Obviously, I purposely went to go and pick up a copy after I played it 3 times. For the time being anyways, this one's definitely on my shelves and one that I've been getting to the table quite a bit. And I wanted to talk about it. So that is Soothsayers. I think that's going to do it for us today. If you want to know more about Cardboard Time, you can go to the website at cardboardtime.com. Our Instagram is at cardboard_time. The Blue Sky is at cardboardtime. And the Discord is on our Tabletop Express server. You can email me at cardboardtime@gmail.com, or you can go to the website for an invite to that. It's a lovely community, and we'd love to see you over there. And you can always feel free to email me with any questions, suggestions, or ideas for discussion topics. And for the LGBTQ plus community, things are tough right now, but the world is better with you in it. As always, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you around the table in 2 weeks for another episode of Cardboard Time.